Hi, everyone. It's so good to have all of you here again. Welcome to this live webinar. We are now in the fourth module of the course. And of course, it's hard to believe that we're already more than halfway through this journey, but I hope you're all learning a lot and being inspired by the guest experts and also by your fellow learners, given that you're all bringing in such diverse perspectives and experiences from your own work situations. And that has really enriched this course for all of us. I know some of you might have joined us along the way and may not have caught up with everything yet. So, just by way of a quick recap on what we've already learned on the course so far, while we give a couple more minutes for others to join, Module 1 answered the question, why social innovation and entrepreneurship, laying the foundation of what social entrepreneurship is and how it's connected to global transformations in business and industry. Then Module 2 looked at social entrepreneurship and the corporate world. And Module 3 introduced us to systems change and levels of impact. And I'm sure those of you who managed to join Isa, Andrea, and myself for the interactive office hour session last week will agree that it was quite insightful and created an open space for all of you to speak to one another and actually see one another for a change and just discuss, what you're working on, the challenges you're facing in your entrepreneurship journey, what is inspiring you, and also just to exchange tips on how to succeed on this journey towards entrepreneurship. So now, as I said, we are in Module 4, and we've been exploring this week elements to do with developing changemaker skills to advance social impact. So our guest expert for today is Claudia Duran. She is the managing director of Endeavor Miami, whose mission is to select, support, and scale the growth of high-impact entrepreneurs in Florida, in the United States emerging entrepreneurship and tech hub. Claudia's career path reflects not only her professional prowess, but also her commitment to creating a positive social impact. She has an amazing background that encompasses diverse financial, corporate, entrepreneurial, and nonprofit organizations. And she also comes from a family of entrepreneurs. She holds an MBA from Instituto de Empresa in Madrid and a bachelor's degree in finance from Penn State University. She's not just a global citizen, being multilingual and multicultural, but she's also a dedicated member of the South Florida community, proudly calling Miami her home. I don't want to say too much because I think it would be much better to let her tell her own story. So, Claudia, welcome to the Future of Business course.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much for the introduction and for inviting me to be a part of this course.
It's really great to have you. And just before we kick off this webinar and this amazing session that I know is before us, I just want to remind those of you who are watching live to click on the survey button at the bottom of the screen to let us know that you're watching live so that you can get the extra points for that. So Claudia, could you tell us briefly about your professional journey and all the various transitions you've had?
Yes. So I chose to go into finance. I studied finance. I loved numbers ever since I was a child. And I thought, well, either math or I go into accounting or finance. So I decided finance, and I started my career in corporate finance in different multinationals. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, I was like, I don't know if I really want to go into a multinational or be an entrepreneur, because both of my parents are entrepreneurs and I saw them how they worked so hard and long hours, but also passionate about what they were doing. But I told myself that I wanted some experience, right? And I thought that going into the big corporations could give me that solid ground and that experience. So I started in an industry where it's beverage, South African brewery. That was my first job in the beverage industry. Then I transitioned into airline industry at an airline that no longer exists, but was acquired by what is called Avianca, which is a leading airline in Latin America mostly. And then I went into Deutsche Bank in New York doing private wealth management after my MBA. So very diverse. And I met my husband in New York, and we decided to move to Sao Paulo, Brazil. And that was a big transition for me, right? Because I didn't know the language. I was really happy in New York at that time, but I'm up for change. I like traveling and I like to reinvent myself. So I said, okay, let's do it. Why not? Brazil is a great country, and I wanted to also learn about the culture. And that's when, after a year and a half being there, I transitioned into Ashoka. And that was an incredible transition into the nonprofit world. Right. And I really loved Ashoka, and I was able to have the opportunity to lead Ashoka in Brazil for 3 years. Right. I was with them for 4. And my nonprofit passion came from a very early age, where I would volunteer when I was a child in orphanages, in school, and elderly homes, just spending time with people. And I really loved that. And I started like volunteering a lot on my free time. Then I built my first nonprofit in El Salvador to support women with addictions and victims of violence. So it was the first legally accredited rehab center that I built with 4 friends, and the 4 of us built that with a lot of love. And the interesting thing was, my first check came from the company where I was working for, that was Sav Miller. And that first check for me was so important, because I remember knocking on the head of corporate responsibility and asking him if Sav Miller could support our organization. And that $10,000 paid for a whole year of rent for the house that we had, and for some supplies. So that's where I was like, oh my God, this is so powerful, right? Merging the social cause with the corporate sector. And there's so many things that we can do together. And so fast forward to Ashoka, that's what I did. I really wanted to have that interaction with the public sector and the private sector, to be able to have an impact through the social entrepreneurs, right? And through our platforms. So it was a great journey, and I really enjoyed every moment of it, learning so much for the Endeavor entrepreneurs, from the Ashoka fellows, and also working with corporations to help them and their employees engage with all of these Ashoka fellows, and finding ways that they can also become an intrapreneurs within their companies, right? And being creative and innovative, and finding possible solutions for within the company, right? So that's what that was when I migrated to the nonprofit sector, and I've been here ever since, because Endeavor is also a nonprofit.
Right. Well, you just summarized many years into a few sentences.
Yes. And lots of changes and transitions.
Right. So I would love to dig a little bit deeper into that, and just find out, how does someone go from corporate finance to where you are now? I mean, just the internal changes as well, which happened to you. I think it's just good to have that self-awareness. And we have a lot of people who are watching today who are in the corporate sector, and perhaps have those kind of ideas, ambitions, and I know will be inspired by your own life story. So maybe just walk us through in a little bit more detail in terms of the actual transitions and what that meant for you.
Yes. So I've always been a curious person and wanting to learn. I love just knowledge and understanding my purpose in this life. Like what is my mission, and how can I become a better person and evolve and have better self-awareness, and also just I think my passion for really learning and adapting to just jumping in different opportunities has been that I am consider myself quite fearless. And when change knocks on my door, I embrace it and I analyze the opportunity, right? It's not like just jump on it, but I see like what are the positives and negatives. And then if it's something that resonates with my heart and I feel like it's something that I could be happy doing, I really follow my intuition and my gut feeling and just take that leap of faith that is my next step in my life, even though it could be scary and I don't know what I'm getting into, because going from corporate finance in different industries to then banking and then to a nonprofit in Brazil and then Miami, another, like I had a gap between, I can talk later about that, how I ended up in Endeavor, but it's always been why not, like if it's for my personal growth and I have that intuition that tells me this is good and you're gonna enjoy the ride, I go for it. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy because you have to adapt, right? I had to move to different countries to do this and cities, but I always land in that place with a positive mindset that I'm going to create my own reality. I'm not going to let anyone else create it for me. I have the power to create it, and I find within myself what is it that I want to create, and then it is quite magical because I meet the right people. I also put a lot of effort, like going to Brazil. I did not know any Portuguese, and if you're in Brazil, you have to speak Portuguese. Like people don't speak to you in English or Spanish. So I really did an effort in speaking fluent Portuguese with a lot of extra like classes. I took a whole year of Portuguese lessons. And I remember at Ashoka, my team members, I would ask for feedback on the emails. How do I write an email so that I don't come across as being rude? Because in the US, emails are shorter, straight to the point. But in Brazil, it's longer. There's more like flowers around, like, hey, I would love to have coffee with you. How is your family? I send you a big hug. So I had to relearn how to communicate, which was wonderful. And then I had to relearn back in the US now to go back to being more objective and straight to the point. But that now I can do both, right? And that's the beauty of being open-minded. So now I use some of these tools in my daily job. I meet people from Brazil or from even banking and finance, right? I'm able to incorporate all these skill sets in my current job. And so it's like I have that bag of tools and skills that I've acquired during my professional journey that I can apply to my professional experience or current job, but also my personal life. Because it's all life for me, it's all about growth. Like I want to grow as an individual, as a personal, as a professional, and be the best version of myself so that I can really like show up and be present every single day. And again, it's not easy, but I really think my decisions are made, I filter them through my heart and not through like the inner critic or voice that can sometimes be very loud, that tells you, no, you can't do that. How are you going to do that? That's not possible. And why? And all these questions. So I tend to write them down and put the pros and cons and then measure like why not, and I go for it. So again, going back to, I love I'm an explorer, I'm curious, I really take opportunities and embrace them and always look forward and not look back, right? That's another thing that I think it's important, cutting cords with the past. Life is not perfect. Sometimes we make bad decisions that haunt us for a long time. So at some point it's time to tell those I call them either insecurities or shadows, but be like, okay, I'm here in this moment and just stay there. Like I already made peace with all of those decisions. And I think that's what I've learned in my journey.
Mm.
Making a lot of mistakes but learning from them. You learn from the good and the bad. And I always say this is a school of life. And we are evolving.
Yeah. And you hear a lot of people talking about failing forward as well, that, if you fail, don't let it just be a setback and you kind of die there, but fail forward and keep moving on to the next thing and the next thing. And you apply those lessons as well.
Correct. And by trying, you really pave the way, because you understand, okay, this doesn't work for me, but this works better, right? Trial and error. And that has to do also with being fearless, because you want to take the chance that you really, but going back to the heart, right, really resonates with you.
And speaking of paving the way, I just want to hear from you now, how you go about supporting entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So I learned from a young age through my parents, both founders. I did not understand this when I was young. Like, why are they never home? Why are they working long hours? Like, why do I have to do my homework all by myself all the time? Like, I want them to sit with me and do the homework. But now that I worked at Ashoka for 4 years supporting social entrepreneurs, and now I've been 4 years at Endeavor supporting entrepreneurs, but in the for-profit world. And I can say it's like the resilience that entrepreneurs have, the drive that they have, they follow their dreams, they're super creative, they don't give up easily, right? Because they truly believe in what they're building. And that is just so admirable, right? It's like it's in their DNA. They breathe entrepreneurship, inspiration. And working with them has been just for me an incredible journey, because I'm able to connect them to resources that they need along their journey, to people, to mentors, advisors that can help them make this important decisions, because being an entrepreneur is really difficult, right? And I always tell founders, this is not a lonely journey. You don't have to do this by yourself. There's a wealth of resources out there to support you in that journey, but it's about you being humble and open-minded to take that help, right? To accept it, because not everybody is ready to really get tough feedback from a mentor. Sometimes it's needed, but you don't want to hear that. So for me, it's been amazing to just connect different people, like I tell people that I'm like a professional matchmaker without the love, obviously, but that's how I feel. Like I'm always connecting people, and the team does that too. Like we see what are the challenges that founders are facing, and then we look for potential opportunities and people or resources that can help them tackle those challenges, so that we can together help them solve those challenges. So it's just the beauty of growing a business or any type of project or organization, where you would be surprised how much resources are out there willing to support you. You just have to know how to navigate, build a network. I always tell entrepreneurs, you can't do this from your home alone. You have to go out and build a network and start like building relationships, strategic ones that can help you along the way, and then add more people, right? And different type of organizations. So I love doing that. And I feel that that's our mission, to support entrepreneurs in being successful and scaling their companies.
Right. Well, we have represented in this group of learners today some organizations and companies that are really interested in, in shifting the power dynamics, shifting the culture within the organization in a way that makes room for entrepreneurs. So you've spoken about entrepreneurs, and I think a lot of what you mentioned, even, being able to navigate the landscape, creating the network, also those same things apply inside the organization. So can you just maybe share with us your own view on why social innovation is actually important for companies, and how they can go about creating that space for entrepreneurs within their companies?
Yeah. So entrepreneurship within companies, it's really important because that's where you see a lot of the ideas and innovation flourish, right? When a company creates a space for employees to be able to have a voice and share their ideas in a safe space, I would say, because sometimes we tend as humans to be insecure about what about if my idea is not that smart, or what are they going to think, or is my boss going to feel threatened with my idea? I don't know, like all these inner critics. But if the company creates that safe space and the leadership team empowers the employees to be able to share their ideas and these innovations from within, that is just beautiful, because you don't have to go hire external consultants and other people to tell you what to do, but you build it within the core business, right? And that's the spinal cord, your employees. So I think that entrepreneurship is absolutely important, and that every single company should promote this, right? And then take action, right? It's not just like, okay, come and dump all your ideas. No, like really select the best ones and then help the employees, because that's how you promote also professional development, and you inspire others to do the same, right? So that if everybody starts feeling, oh my God, like there is actually a way of having a positive impact within the company. And then social innovation. Look, we live in a world that we desperately need social innovation. Like it is everyone's responsibility at this point for us to really think, what is the world we want to live in? Like, what is our responsibility to make sure that we all take care of this planet? And we're using the resources, right, to create different things, products, services, and then we consume also. And so everyone at the end of the day individually has to ask the question, like, how can I like support the place that I live that has given me so much, like the air we breathe, the beautiful nature that surrounds us, how can we protect it? And so all these ideas that come within the organization, a multinational, on how employees want to also have social impact and change, that can be a voice within an organization. And then if the leadership decides to act on it, then you create these beautiful programs that can have actual external social impact, right?
Right. Well, we are about halfway through our webinar, and I just want to say, for those that are watching live, remember you need to put your questions and comments in the chat box just under the screen, so that we can ask Claudia while she's here. And we have one question from our audience that says, "What are your recommendations for those who want to gain buy-in within companies and institutions to advance entrepreneurship?"
Entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship, yeah.
I would say find within the organization the leaders or that also want to do this, like who would be the ambassadors, right? That can really open the doors towards the higher levels in the organization, and find like that ambassador that can help you have that voice and gather, probably build a small committee, right? If you're starting and to do this, a small committee where you have a strategy on how, or what would be the outcome, what do you want to achieve, right? And start very simple. Like, what are a couple of projects that we could propose within the company so that we can bring these entrepreneurial, like new projects within the company? And then with the ambassador, start presenting them to decision makers in the company. Like, don't waste time with people who don't have the power to make those decisions. Like, really structure it in a very professional way, very clear strategy and goals and objectives in a simple manner. Like, even though you have this big dream, start with a first phase, second phase, third phase, like unlocking like a project, And then once you get the sign off from leadership, okay, go ahead and do it. Then you build the team, the inner team that will spearhead this project. And slowly more people will be inspired and want to be part of it. And that's how you start growing it.
And I think just talking about being inspired, while we're still on the same question, I would think storytelling as well is one critical skill that we would all need to have to be able to sell the idea and to sell that inspiration. How have you seen that play out in your journey?
Storytelling is so powerful and most people underestimate it. How we communicate is so important. And let me tell you, we listen to so many pitches from entrepreneurs, like hundreds of pitches. And I would say 99% of them change along the way. They refine, right? We always give them feedback because it can always improve. And especially, who are you telling the story to? Who's your audience? If you don't have a powerful story, you lose their attention really fast. They'll go on their phone, especially if it's an elevator pitch. Imagine, like, you have like a few minutes to engage at somebody's attention. So that's why preparation on storytelling is so important. And for me, it's been also a learning experience of how do I tell my story? How can I really inspire through my story and be an instrument, right? How can I help other people? Because that's my job 24/7. How can I help entrepreneurs? And that's what I think of every single day.
Right.
But I also have to know how to communicate like the value proposition and what we're doing, so that in our case here in Miami, like the community understands what we're doing. And it can be one person communicating the storytelling, but then you have to translate that into a marketing strategy, a communication strategy, a PR strategy. And that's where everything's tied in a company, right? You have to know how to communicate this internally and externally.
Yeah. Right. And what are some of the other skills that you think you have had to either develop or pick up over time, which have been useful to you in your career as an entrepreneur?
Public speaking. Oh my God. I was terrified about public speaking. I remember in Ashoka, I started like really getting terrified when some of the conferences were bigger conferences. And I will never forget one day that I had to go speak to a group of 800 dentists. One of the Ashoka fellows in Brazil, Fabio Vivancos, invited me. And I didn't speak that well Portuguese. It was just like a portuñol mix of Portuguese and Spanish. But I did it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I practiced. And I did it. I had a headache, yes, because I was so nervous. But then what did I do after that? When I at Endeavor also, I have to do a lot of public speaking. And there's so many techniques on how to lower the stress, because your heart starts palpitating, you start breathing really fast. So breathing exercises, and then practicing before you speak in public is really important, like practicing in front of the mirror, having a storyline of what you want to communicate, and not just read from a page, because you lose people's attention if you're reading, right? It's not like you have to memorize the speech, but know what's the story you want to tell, and then put your heart in it, your emotion, so that you connect with the audience and they engage and they feel you, right? They feel that it's genuine. So I had to learn that, and I had to get a communications coach to be able to know how to do this, a storytelling. We have mentors teaching storytelling to all the entrepreneurs, so I'm part of that also. And so that's one of the things I had to learn. The other thing is patience. Patience is so important. We are impatient people. And so we want things now. We want people to do things how we would do them. And, we have to just be patient. Some people have to learn by making mistakes. We cannot be micromanaging every single thing. So I had to learn to delegate, trust that they were going to be able to execute. If it wasn't perfect like I wanted it to be, I go back and give feedback, but I don't do it for them, because then I'm not helping them grow as professionals. So that's something I had to learn, right? Building the best team you can possibly have. That's so important, because that way, as you grow as a professional, you're able to, if you have the right team, and this is something we tell the entrepreneurs all the time, you can focus as a leader on the vision, on the strategy, on building relationships, on maybe and the innovation part, what new products, services, and then you have the team that you're able to, that you trust, that you delegate. Obviously, there's mechanism of tracking OKRs and what are the goals and objectives, but that's where the communication is really important, right?
Absolutely.
There's so many things I've learned in my life, but I know we don't have time.
I can imagine. You should probably write a book if you haven't already. That'll be a good next project to work on.
I haven't actually been told to do that, but we'll see. I have to make time to start writing some of my experiences. Yeah. There are good stories there, and I can just share one really quick here. Yeah. I got a phone when I moved to Miami. I got a phone call from my parents to do a financial turnaround from a company that my dad they were both retired, but they invested in this company that my brother was managing. And I accepted the challenge, and I traveled every month back and forth from El Salvador to Miami, back and forth. It was the hardest job of my life, because I did not know the industry was the food industry, export. I had no idea. And the company was basically bankrupt. And my dad is like, you studied finance, can you fix it? I'm like, I'll try my best. But the beautiful thing about that process, which lasted almost 2 years, is that I had so much time to work alongside my mom and my dad. It was a gift of time under the most stressful circumstances, yes, but I had time with them. And so that's where I say, like, there's like the good and the bad, like it doesn't matter. Like there's always something positive in even the difficult moments in life. If you look at what am I learning from this experience? And for me, it was, wow, like my parents and I were working together. It's almost like the child like grew up and really fast, and we were at the same level and almost like talking, like, which I hadn't had that opportunity before. It was just like going for 2 weeks a year to spend Christmas, and it was Claudia coming home, just for those 2 weeks. And now it's professionals having like hard discussions and making hard decisions. So that was another story that I have of.
We will look forward to the book, which will have all the other stories that we can't tell today. And we hope that we will be a small part of that book as well. Well, we have another question from Camilla, and she wants to find out, what was your first achievement, personal or professional, when switching from corporate to nonprofit, or any of the main achievements that you can share during that kind of transition?
From corporate to nonprofit. Well, it was, when I was in Brazil, I didn't have a work permit. So for 1.5 years, I was going crazy, because I was coming from Deutsche Bank, New York, career, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with my life here? And so I said, okay, let me go and volunteer. I need to find a nonprofit where I can volunteer and use my time. I actually interviewed with every single bank, not knowing Portuguese. I accepted a job at Citibank. And 2 days before starting the job at Citibank, they called me to ask me for a document, which I didn't have. And that's where I realized I couldn't work. So that's the end of my banking career there. And when I looked for the opportunities to volunteer in nonprofit, I met someone from the alumni network from my MBA. And I went to a dinner and I met someone that worked at Ashoka and told me about Ashoka. And I said, oh, this sounds amazing. So that's where, I never was a volunteer because my work visa came like 2 weeks after I met that person from Ashoka. It's almost like the universe conspired for me to go into Ashoka. Right. And so going back to that first accomplishment was just like embracing that transition, letting go that I was not able to work at Citibank, and seeing the opportunity that maybe I was best needed in this organization. And I brought all my business acumen to scale the organization in Brazil, right? And travel Brazil, get to know the Ashoka entrepreneurs, learn from them. It's just amazing the amount of innovation that there is in that country, like social innovation. It's just like, wow, impressive. As I'm sure there's in other parts of the world, but when I realized how much I could learn from them, that gave me so much, and the admiration I had for what they were building. I mean, so courageous, so much resilience. That's where I got the energy to really lead that organization and want to grow and build strategic relationship with multinationals that wanted to partner with us and other. So I feel like my first year was just like identifying, like, first the challenges and then the opportunities, and then going out and tackling and finding the right partners to build upon those opportunities.
Interesting. And we have another question from Maria. What was the toughest learning over your journey? What's the hardest thing that you've had to learn, whether you failed, whether you learned from another experience that someone else had? I'm sure there have been many of those tough moments.
That's a big question.
Too many times.
That's a big question. Knowing and facing and directly in front of me people that wanted to see me fail, and looking at them in their face with my smile and with grace, and telling myself, you're not gonna let them achieve that. I don't have to tell them that, but I told myself, because I know my self-worth and I love myself, so I don't let anybody else take my power from me. That's what I would say.
Wow. That almost brings tears to my eyes, I must tell you. I think that resonates with so many people, honestly. And I can just imagine how tough that is. And what it then does to you and what it builds within you, right? You spoke about the resilience and the courage and so on. And I think you do have to face those kind of situations. But in the moment, you're not thinking about, oh, I'm so resilient, so this doesn't do anything to me. I think it is very difficult.
It is very difficult, but when you know your self-worth and when you know you're a good person, and what you do is really comes from a good place, and again, it goes back to my heart, you can confront, like, I would say, anyone who wants to either see you fail or challenges that you face in your life, family members that sometimes don't believe that you can make it, et cetera, et cetera.
So let's zoom in on some of those challenges, because we do have quite a few comments and questions on the course platform around that. What are the challenges that entrepreneurs face, and how do they overcome it? How do they overcome them? And then how can entrepreneurs learn from some of the challenges that entrepreneurs face?
Yeah. Some of the challenges, I mean, there's many, but I would say when entrepreneurs start with the vision, the idea, and they execute and make it a reality, their ideas, and they start their companies, they start most of them start understanding that they need help, external help, to be able to run some of the challenges, and that they don't have all the answers, right? So that's why organizations like us exist. And especially because when you go from a startup to then you start growing, you go to a scale up, and then you go into growth, and then you become maybe a public company, and then a multinational, like the journey. There's challenges along the entire curve and the way. And raising capital, right? You need money to fuel your business. And first challenge, how do I choose my investor? How do I know if this is the right investor? When you bring an investor into your cap table, into your company, that's it. It's a marriage. And so having the right partners from the beginning is really important, because if you choose the wrong partner because you're desperate for money. So one of the main challenges is not having that business plan and strategic plan and cash flow. So important. I know at the beginning it's not that much money, but having that forecast of what you need so that you don't run out of money, which is another challenge entrepreneurs have. They run out of money, and then they're raising capital when they don't have money, and that's really hard. Nowadays, it's almost impossible. If you don't have a runway and you're in a healthy cash flow, it's hard to raise capital. And if you don't have a clear growth strategy, that's another problem. So organized growth is really important. Clear path to growth and having a strategy that you can explain clearly, that's important, right? To investors and in conferences when they go public speak, because that's another way of getting visibility, is being able to communicate and articulating through storytelling what you're doing, right? So that people get it. And so another challenge is managing people. When you go from 10 employees to 30 to 50 to 100 to 1,000, it's so complex. Like, when do I bring a head of HR? When do I have to have levels and competencies and salary range? And how do, like, all these questions, like, be very clear when you need the type of talent you need to bring in, because founders cannot have all the expertises, right, of knowing everything. So again, going back to the team that you choose, it's so important. Mm-hmm. And then another challenge is how to build a strong network around you that can help you grow and get advice from or resources. The people that you surround with have to be good, not because everybody will give their own personal opinion of how you should do it, right? And then they drive entrepreneurs crazy. Oh, this person told me this and this person told me that. No, being very laser focused on what you want to achieve, and then listening to people, but making the decisions, right? And that's why we also suggest having an advisory board, like 3 or 4 people that you can go to on a quarterly basis, as not your formal board, but an advisory board that you can have as a sounding board to run your challenges or ideas and then get insights. But then it's up to you and your team to make the ultimate decision. Mm-hmm. But there's so many challenges. I mean, raising money is really hard. Growing a business is hard. So going back to the people, having the right team is crucial. And having the right mentorship and network around you is so important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're getting a lot of comments on the platform and compliments about how strong you are and how resilient you're being. And I think people are wondering, is this just a personality trait you have? Is it something that can be learned?
No, it's not a personality trait.
I suppose life teaches you to do it, but there's also, I think, a request from Emma and others who just want some recommendations from you on how to manage transitions in a resilient way.
Yeah. I've not been this way all my life. I was very introvert when I was little, very insecure, highly insecure. Like that inner critic was like, had a megaphone. And in school, like I think I started like getting more confident, like getting into high school. I had bullies. Again, it was not easy. I was in my first 10 years of my life were during a civil war in El Salvador.
Wow.
It was tough. So I was born the year the Civil War started. My first 10 years, all I knew was bombs and shooting, right? And so I said I'm fearless, but growing in that environment it made me fearless because I had so much fear when I was little, but I learned to cope with it. And I thought that was normal because after a certain time, you just learn to live with that.
Yeah.
And yes, I suffer from PTSD, from trauma, from insomnia that I have only been able to cure as an adult in the recent years because I've done so much inner work. And the reason why I did inner work was because I wanted to be the best version of myself and find joy and happiness in my life. And nobody's going to give that to me on a silver platter. I had to put the work in because I'm the only one who can make change in my life. Right. So when I made that decision, then the hard work started really happening. So yes, I have my day job and helping entrepreneurs and everything, but the most important job is with me. That the work that I put into my life, into how to tackle change, how to embrace change, how to not, and I'm not saying that I've been happy and joyful then my entire life. No, again, I go back to maybe I should write that book because there are so many other challenges that I've had across in my life that now I say, wow, these were all teachings, learnings. I had to go through this process. And I thank even the people who made me suffer in my life because I'm a better person because I learned through those experiences who I wanted to become, the things that I did not want to do in my life, or right, I would not do that to someone else, things that were done to me. So learning from all those experiences have made me really just a stronger person and confident and very clear in my head where I want to be today. I don't worry that much about the future. That's another thing. That's another hack when you're all constantly thinking about the future and what I'm going to do in the future. And I want to have all this wealth and I want to be known and all these things, or etc. Then you don't live in the present moment because you're worrying so much about the future, right? Or the past. Again, there's so many masters and people, experts in the power of the present moment and how do you live in the now. But some of the exercises is, who do I want to be? Like, what is my legacy? Like, what do if I show up every day at work, am I happy? I'm super happy every morning. I'm happy, and every day is different. And I embrace everything, even the positive and the negative, because I always learn from the negative to improve for the future, right? So it's that I guess resilience has come because of my journey, like living through the war, having to escape in really bad moments, just jumping on a plane, coming to the US when a bomb landed in front of my house, and it's just like going back. It's okay. That has built me who I am now. And I'm resilient because I know that I can create my own reality and I don't depend on others. So why am I going to just give up? Like, if I have the power to create my own reality, why would I give up?
Yeah. It sounds so simple. Sounds like such a simple question, but I think it's really profound, and it's good to to reflect in that way every day and just be really, sometimes just be tough on yourself, right? And not allow, as you're saying, all these other voices and things to keep swaying you on your journey.
Oh, I'm tough. I have so many conversations with myself. It's because it's like, okay, This inner critic is too loud today. What's happening? Sometimes journaling helps. Journaling. Let's say if there's a constant thought that comes into your mind constantly, then write it down and start analyzing the patterns of why are these thoughts so common, and then going deeper and finding what is the root of this thought. Like there has to be something there. Because I'm a curious person, I go deep and study myself and understand the causes and the root of the problem or those thoughts that are popping into my head. And yes, it's not easy, but that's why I said it's hard work. This is the hardest work that I've ever done, my own inner work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, those are so many great life hacks that you've shared with us. And I really wish we had more time. We're getting to the end. Remember, just keep letting us know what your questions are that we can give to Claudia before she goes. But I have one question on collaboration. I think that's something that we discuss on this course platform quite a bit. Working in different ecosystems and looking at systems change and so on. Is collaboration something that you've seen being a very useful strategy for you? What have been some of the difficulties, and what have been some of the successes that you've seen as a result of collaborating with others?
Absolutely. Collaboration is key in life. Like I have not done everything I've done by myself. Like, no, like I know exactly my limitations, my skill sets, and I partner with people that can that are good at those things, right? I'm very clear of my strength and my weaknesses. So I collaborate with people that together we are stronger and we can execute better on the strategies at work or anywhere, right? And I know Ashoka talked a lot about collaborative leadership and collaborative entrepreneurship. Like even what I said, entrepreneurs they don't grow their businesses alone. They depend on the team, on resources, investors, mentors, people that they surround themselves with. And if you collaborate, you're open to collaboration, right? There's magic in collaboration, because when inside corporations, departments collaborate. If there's no communication between departments, I mean, the multinational has clear a set of a mission and vision and goals where they want to take the company and their KPIs and the objectives yearly, right? At the end of the day, shareholder value, and you need to produce, but you don't do that alone as a silo department. You do that as a whole corporation. So how you collaborate with other departments is key. How you communicate within departments is key. How you show respect to other people within the company, because I see it like marketing is doing they have their own operations, and then I have programs who manages all the cohorts of the entrepreneurs. They collaborate when, let's say, there's a campaign that we have to release, and they have to communicate in a very clear way how they're going to work in that project together. If there's no collaboration, then both departments will not succeed with their objectives. Mm-hmm. So that's why having alignment within the C-level is important, with managers, in every level of the company. There has to be alignment and communication and meetings that are very strategic, with agendas where people don't waste time and they know what they have to be doing, like staff meetings. Anyways, there's so many ways of having collaboration, but you build community through collaboration. Like Miami, for example, Endeavor is a key organization driving entrepreneurship here in Florida, I would say. And I'm not doing this by myself. I collaborate with local government. I collaborate with multinationals that support us. I collaborate with other organizations that are building the entrepreneurial community here. And that's the only way you build a strong entrepreneurial community, right? By collaboration, not by being siloed, because that's a bit egotistical.
Right. A lot of excellent points there. I hope those of you who are watching are taking good notes. If not, you can always watch the recording, of course, but I think this has really been so good. Claudia, just as we wrap up, what would you say are some initial steps that our learners can take to not just understand more about social innovation, but also to begin to support social entrepreneurs and also to implement their own projects as entrepreneurs?
Yeah. I would say, well, social innovation is just fundamental in the fiber of our society. Like it's there's so much innovation happening in real time and really fast, right? We're looking at technology, how it's evolving so fast. But we also have responsibility in how we use that technology in a very responsible way, because sometimes technology can also be detrimental if used in the wrong way. So having that ethical fiber, I would say, is really important. And the social innovation and social entrepreneurship is goes along the hand in hand, right? The world has so many challenges. Like if you zoom out from a corporation, from your daily job, and you zoom out, there's so much you can do as an individual and contribute, right? With something, starting with something small, like even planting a tree, I don't know, or cleaning the garbage in the ocean, or being a volunteer in a nonprofit, or if you have an idea in your extra time, like I did after work hours, create my own nonprofit to help women. Like it's just, first of all, tapping into your heart. Do I want to contribute? Do I feel like I want to plant a seed in this earth where I am a part of that, planting that seed and see it flourish, right? Because collaboratively, together, we can make change, positive change. So don't be scared if you have ideas. I actually tell everyone I love crazy ideas. Those are the best, just crazy ideas. And don't be scared about sharing your ideas and finding spaces where you can share your ideas and meet and surrounding yourself with people that have high vibration and are also like want to do something, and you don't have to do it alone. Going back to collaboration, build a group of people. You can start with 3 people, 2 people, I don't know, and slowly grow something in your community or within the company. Start the committee, find the ambassador, create an opportunity, a project that can be signed off, and then the company sponsors it.
Wow. This has been so rich for me personally. I think I've really taken away so much. I wish we had another hour to go on and just dig deeper into this gold mine, but unfortunately we've run out of time. But I really want to thank you, Claudia, for taking time from your very busy schedule just to speak to us today and share all these amazing life experiences that you've had.
It has been my pleasure. I love it. I love sharing, and thank you for all the listeners for tuning in. And I wish you the best of luck, and don't be afraid. Again, tap into your heart and follow your intuition.
Absolutely. Let us know when the book is out. We will buy it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much to all of you who've tuned in live for this session. I am quite sure today's session has been as enlightening and as impactful for you as it has been for me. I think one of the best takeaways that I've had is that the best, and maybe the hardest work, but the best work that you can do is to work on yourself. Thank you so much, Claudia. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your week, and goodbye for now.